how to make sure that we are keeping with the trend of the new designs which are coming up or trying to create the trends. What are the skill set they should focus on and when they are starting the career? How to play with the psychology with the right design. Hello everyone and welcome to Career Conversation Podcast. I'm your host Dushyant Bhatt. In this podcast, we invite industry experts from various domains to share their learnings and experience. In today's episode, we have Hanoze Boga, who is the AVP of Design at JioSavan. With over 2 decades of experience across the diverse industry, Hanoze is a design leader with customer-centric approach to problem solving. Throughout his career, from the early days leading the design team at JioSavan, Tutsi, Stockbox, and Folk Media, Hanoze has consistently demonstrated his ability to reduce product friction through innovative design. Today, we deep dive into his career journey, insight, and product design, and how creatively shapes the successful products in today's market. So, welcome Hanoze to the show.
Thanks for the introduction, Dushyant. It's been quite a roller coaster journey, to be honest, across startups, new learnings, and tons of experience along the way. I'm sure that by the end of this conversation would have sparked some inspiration in a few of our listeners, especially those in product design or anyone excited to dive into the world of design in general. Trust me, it's pretty fascinating.
So, how was the product design journey started?
Well, from a young age, I was a lot passionate about art and design, which naturally led me into the art as an optional subject in my final school year.
Okay.
Despite that, I had graduated from commerce as it was considered to be the more safer option at that time. But uh, right after graduation, I followed my heart and enrolled in a course on animation and visual design. And it was from 2004 January that my journey into the wild world of design and startups truly began.
How was the career journey from last 20 years?
Well, looking back, it's 20 years and six startups. And
Okay.
the best part is I had the privilege of working across various industries
Mhm.
with their respective leaders and founders. So this experience has given a lot of exposure and well-rounded understanding of how businesses operate and how design actually, when approached from a solution-based mindset, can have a lot larger and powerful impact.
And what are the toughest challenges you've seen across while working in this 20 years?
Well, of all the startups, I think the capital market industry was one of the far best, most challenging. Unlike other fields where design had some natural overlap, capital markets felt like a very completely different world, alien both in terms of the product and also the industry itself, to be
Mhm.
honest. And one more thing that I want to say is, even from a role perspective, right? When you work into startups, you have to wear multiple hats. And that one role kind of got me out of my comfort zone, all while navigating a unique culture that actually set it apart.
And the finance is very structured, so you cannot be too much creative in that sector, right?
Well, yeah, you cannot be, but you still have some way of being creative. Right? Play with the fonts, play with the colors within that rigid frame of saying like some just colors like blue and red, like how you see at the particular banking sector, like an ICICI is an orange, but you still have some leeway of playing with colors and fonts and stuff like that. At least that sort of gave me the chance to play with it. So it was a lot more fun.
And finance is the most critical, so which is the most easier or enjoyable.
Enjoyable, I would say my time in AdTech was incredible. It was just the perfect mix of hustle, fun, experience that I actually cherished a lot. It also made me actually have a lot of good friends back in the day and had just to work with the brightest minds of the industry. Also, maybe because I was part of that company when it was 4 to 5 people to begin with, and then it scaled to 200, 300 odd people. So yeah, it's very fun to see the journey of a company that starts from zero and goes all the way to 100.
So capital market, tech, and now the music industry.
Yeah,
So
fun, as I said.
yeah, how was the experience in music industry?
Music for me is a lot personal. It's actually what I turn to every day, whether I'm
Mhm.
traveling, managing stress, or even celebrating something joyful there. Even while listening, even like what sitting with my kids and listening to some music also. It's a very
Mhm.
personal thing in the end of the day. As compared to other
Right.
industries, what stood out for me is that how music streaming platforms constantly use data in implicit
Mhm.
and explicit signals. How they use patterns and behaviors to enhance what song or podcast are recommended to you as an end listener. And also as a service, it has something special. connects with people on a deeply emotional level, invoking strong memories and feelings that all industry sectors don't actually quite touch.
Right.
And also for me, it stands out more because to understand how, as a platform, it leverages data,
Mhm.
signals, behavior patterns to fine tune what song is recommended. It's more like it's personal every time that you see the application. So
Right.
to a point that my JioSavan would not be the same as your version of JioSavan, right?
Mhm.
Or any streaming app for that matter. Like you see
Right.
capital markets, it'll be very structured in that point of view. But as a content
Mhm.
recommendation engine, it depends. It will kind of evolve basis your listening patterns and your listening habits. Hence, it just feels like it actually was made just for you more
Mhm.
than anything else. So yeah,
Right.
that's the differentiator if I have to just call it out.
As your experience in various industries, so how the approach of design keep on changing on as per industry wise?
Well, it's been 20 odd years, right? And six startups. This JioSavan by far has been a
Mhm.
lot more corporatish for me compared to the other ones, and
Right.
hence design per se in my initial days were a lot more personal,
Mhm.
a lot more weightage to how my designs looked, and lesser to how they function and were being used by the end consumer. But yeah, over point in time, the approach changed from more of a design led to a more solution led designer.
Right.
And just by simply changing that approach, I began to dig a lot deeper and understand how industries work and how
Mhm.
they function, what customers expected, and the business objectives. While it does seem very obvious, this made me realize the roller coaster of how designers map the objectives and how the role of design across all industries is much more larger than I had initially perceived it to be. This changed my approach from a mere executor point of view to someone who can see designs in a lot more positively impactful way and whose design can actually move revenue as well. So the moment I did that, I got a lot more involved in larger conversations about
Mhm.
sales, business, and in general, how all these industries work.
Mhm.
This gave me a more overall understanding of the industry that I was in, and it also helped me provide the best possible solution, thereby creating a lot more impact and change.
Right.
So, this is something that actually I've used across all the sectors that I've worked in, and that's just helped me be in the top of my game across all these industries.
What are the trends we are seeing in terms of the design industry? How we are where we are leading to?
Good question, Dushyant. I believe that as an individual, one should have good foundational understanding of how the laws of user experience work, the cognitive biases, and in general, how we as humans function.
Mhm.
As long as we keep these foundation understandings in mind, trends become more the weather that comes and goes, yeah, to be honest. कुछ
Right.
नहीं है उसके अंदर. And but if you ask me from a very trends perspective, I think human centered designs are going to be a lot more essential going forward. The products will focus a lot more on understanding users' needs more, their behaviors and pain points and experiences, rather than business first approach. Uh,
Right.
while this may seem like a basic foundation aspect, but a larger focus will move towards that, and that actually somewhere will help us differentiate one product from another.
Mhm.
That is one aspect. Secondly, like I spoke about earlier about AI and Gen AI coming in, that will also help us as designers be able to personalize quite a lot of the experiences. So a lot more AI would get integrated to
Mhm.
basically make our products and experience a lot more personalized. That's one aspect. And पहले क्या था ना कि मैंने डिजाइन बना दिया सबको अच्छा लगेगा.
Right.
That time people never used to think about how folks with limited abilities will be able to kind of access it. So
Mhm.
accessibility will improve a lot. So
Right.
naturally, if you see, voice commands have come in a lot
Mhm.
actively. And I think Apple recently announced eye tracking that will
Mhm.
eventually replace manual typing on the keyboard and things like that. That's also one more step towards more inclusive design aspect.
Mhm.
One more aspect that I want to talk about is design system, something that I personally
Mhm.
appreciate because it just brings about standardization across the system. I remember there was a point one of the startups I used to work on where two tabs had different font sizes. They had different colors, they had different palettes, they had different. It was pretty chaotic, to be honest. And
Mhm.
we as humans like to perceive things in uniformity and standardization.
Right.
So it really helps in bringing uniformity across the product, across the brand, across the app, everywhere. Right from even your tone of voice has to be consistent. So quite a few things help, and design system surely does. Again, sticking with AI, low code or no code platforms will actually get a lot more highlight in the future. Even
Right.
Figma as a tool that we use have quite a few modes that are more developer friendly. So at some point, that's gonna come in a lot more stronger. It just might help us democratize actually creating any products
Right.
more closer towards home from a design aspect. We've seen tools that say, just type in a few keywords and it'll give you a flow.
Mhm.
While that might help for standard processes, we
Right.
invariably keep creating unique problems for ourselves. And as long as we do that, there's always a scope to solve problems through effective design. So
Right.
that's my thought. Yeah, अभी कितना replace करेगा at some point in
Right.
time.
And human choices
That's
are
it.
always subjective. That's why it's always critical for design.
And design is subjective, man.
Right.
It's always subjective. What you see as design and what I see as design are completely different. And
Mhm.
I guess that's the fun of it, no? It's unique.
Right. And if you go more specialized, how the design of the tech products has been evolved.
Now, when you say tech products, over the years, right, uh, things have transitioned very well across digital. Like right
Mhm.
from the creation of websites, if you remember back in the days, to digital
Right.
artworks, to complex apps, ecosystems of today. According to me, there are a few aspects that actually were adopted when we just transitioned from, say, website creation to apps, and they've actually played an important role in creating amazing products.
Mhm.
And I think over the years, there's a marked shift in predominantly creating visually aesthetic designs
Mhm.
as an approach to more in which one creates a more experience, because that actually is a lot more fruitful than just creating designs randomly as per your whims and fancies, or more individualistic.
Right.
And in that aspect, user experience has become a lot more essential in product design. So when the focus started to shift a lot more from interface designing to, say, creating entire user journeys
Right.
using user research, wireframing, prototyping.
Mhm.
This phase marked a change from more visually aesthetic to a more user-centric design approach.
Mhm.
One more aspect now, with the addition of triggers and data-driven approach, decision in what we should design became a lot more clearer, and then actually decision making became a lot easier and less hypothetical and less how do I perceive it.
Mhm.
Even something as simple as where and how users interact with, where they drop off, their click
Right.
throughs. And in today's day and age, data is the backbone for nearly everything that we do, even in product
Right.
design,
Right.
and just helps us build better experiences.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think that's a very critical aspect that at least I follow across whatever designs that we do. And as I said earlier, right, designs are becoming a lot personal now than they
Mhm.
were earlier. All these tools are just helping us reach that level of personalization where your app would look different, even if it's the same app, but your app experience will be a lot different from my app experience. Over the years, we realized quite a few. The mobile is not limited to just the mobile now, right?
Right.
It's going across various ecosystems,
Mhm.
and it's more pronounced since Android and iOS ecosystems have evolved.
Right.
Watches now, and say even glasses, quite a few things are coming up. So it's going to be a lot more interesting. As a designer, we used to earlier limit ourselves to, say, websites. Then came the day of the mobiles. Then there are watches, and now there are glasses and all these kind of things. Yeah. So I don't think as a designer we need to worry, but we just need to keep these core aspects in mind across anything that we design. Don't take
Right.
it personal, and take data as a guide and support for whatever we do,
Mhm.
because that just validates that designs actually work.
And design is getting complex, right? As the devices are increasing, the digital products usability on the multiple products are increasing
Yeah.
because you have to keep changing the how it's working on the desktop, mobile, watches, and other
Yeah.
devices also.
Also, Nayar, when you say, for example, usability perspective, right, with the device as similar and mobile, you have a certain area to play with. Now, when it
Right.
moves across on your say connected systems like so CarPlay and Apple Play,
Hmm.
the positioning changes, your usability
Right.
changes, right?
Right.
This something if you're like on the right hand driver, right, your
Hmm.
main hand will be the left one to use. As compared to on the device, your right hand is the main hand that you can use.
Right. Right.
So then, how will you devise for the left hand? So quite a few
Hmm.
things, yeah. To be honest, it's just a very short this thing. But yeah, those are all important aspects to keep in mind. And as long as we do that, designers will always be there.
Right. And how the things are evolving. So how to manage the user expectations?
Well, one important thing that I actually want to ask you also. There's one essential aspect that every OTT and more from a streaming perspective,
Hmm.
or even from brand perspective, they eye from you. Can you tell me one essential human aspect that every brand or streaming service is eyeing from a user?
The time.
Yes, it's your time.
Right.
It's the user's attention. It's
Hmm.
how much more time can you stick on it on a particular
Right.
device or particular thing. How to engage you more and more and more.
Hmm.
So, so that's what I was saying, right? Nearly all OTT services, platforms long for high user attention, engagement, and attention. The
Right.
more our listeners are engaged by listening to their favorite music, the better the recommendations will be.
Hmm.
And the longer the user stays on a platform, the higher the likelihood that listener will purchase a subscription plan,
Right.
especially for a platform such as so there's a freemium, it has a premium and has a subscription based model and a
Right.
free based model. So across all our solution led design workflows, yeah, we always ensure that we keep customer needs at primary as an objective and
Hmm.
constantly find ways to enhance the user app experience.
Design is very subjective domain, right? There is nothing permanent, nothing is fixed. So how to make sure that we are keeping with the trend of the new designs which are coming up, or trying to create the trends?
Uh, Creating something new is cool, but adoption is a different curve altogether, right?
Right.
So there's certain things that you can be so that you actually can create, and certain brands do create that kind of differentiator factor. Like one very known brand that we have is Apple as a brand. You know, it keeps on creating something when people adopt to it. You know, they
Right.
create cognitive load.
Hmm.
Like this, like some early days, we just had normal headphones. Right? We just used to wear the headphones and just let's start off with now we have double tap, third tap, pull and push, and all that kind of jazz. I was never there earlier, right? So certain brands have the liberty to create, and people will adapt.
Hmm.
Well, something simple as even the headphones jack here. Like Apple Watching was the first one to remove the headphones jack
Right.
from the phone device as a device,
Hmm.
and people first had a lot of ho and so on. But eventually they settled down. Now, quite a few phones don't have the iPhone, the headphone jack anymore. They're all Bluetooth. Yeah, these are fun things. Yeah, but apart from that, I think keeping up with trends is more personal,
Hmm.
and it's how we have an initiative and we do the initiative. But more or less, it's very easy. Like you have blogs and articles. You have blogs such as UX Collective, Smashing
Hmm.
Magazine, Medium. They have good information about design articles and share unique perspectives.
Right.
That can be an option that you can go through. For UI inspirations, you can look at Dribble and Behance as websites that depict a lot of innovative UI styles. That, as a product designer, you can go through. However, there's a caution because they're just visual designs in the end of the day, right? You
Hmm.
need to have some context to why that design was done.
Hmm.
Again,
Right.
a more solution oriented design approach than a design led solutioning. I know it's a little bit of a tongue twister, but it just helps think in that perspective, you know.
Right. Right. And we spoke with the multiple leaders, and they have all have the similar aspect that don't go for the solution or technology first. Find out the problem first, okay, and try to understand what is the problem and what are the possible way you have to solve that problem.
Yeah.
Right. And design is the one of the key aspect in solving any of the problem.
Yeah. Is what actually what is what everyone sees in the end of the day, na, yeah. So
Right.
that's why you have to disassociate your designs from what problem you're trying to fix.
Right.
Otherwise वो मेरा डिजाइन अच्छा लगा मुझे तो आगे गया उसके साथ वो वाला फीलिंग आ जाता है फिर. It doesn't actually work. And then when the numbers come, and then we are like, "Arey, uska performance nahi aaya." Then again, reopen the book.
Right.
And every time you change something that affects an end user, right, it
Mm-hmm.
builds a lot of pain for the user.
Right.
So might as well do it more calculatively, do it more measured. Don't
Mm-hmm.
rush it up and do it.
Right.
That's one of my thought. And also what we generally do across any flow that you touch, look at
Mm-hmm.
competitive benchmarking.
Right.
See what the competitors are doing because they have followed a certain pattern
Mm-hmm.
and they have themselves experimented in certain ways, especially for a particular industry, right? That helps. There are certain platforms and websites, just called one called Mobbin, that can basically give you ideas in terms of how other applications are using uh, uh, their UI and how are they kind of creating flows and stuff. So kind of helps. Mobbin is
Mm-hmm.
one good platform that you can actually explore.
Right.
But then apart from that, there are small books that they can go through. One is 101 Things I've Learned from Product Design School. Even that's a good one, to be honest.
Okay.
So have a look at it. And one last aspect, whatever sector that you're in, look at what competition is doing
Mm.
and use their apps. See what challenges they have. See how they've approached those challenges. And yeah, man, just have fun along the way. As simple as that. Don't take it too seriously.
Right. And we have seen the whole evolution of the product design in last 20 years, and then it's moving ahead. Now, many new professionals are interested in this domain, right? They want to pursue career in the design. So, what are the skill set or what are things they should focus on and when they are starting the career?
One important aspect that I've tried to kind of keep in mind throughout the career is I always stay curious. Try to learn how exactly everything works conceptually
Right.
and how things function. The basic look and feel, yeah, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's the reason why if you see I have worked across quite a few industries. I'm not stuck with one particular sector or industry.
Right.
And that's kind of helped me navigate across all the other industries I moved through.
Mm-hmm.
Although with this, there are some pieces of advice that I would want to share and that have helped me across this journey. And these are a lot more personal to me. And that's why I came back to the first one is product design is not about your designs. It's
Okay.
about how you can make a positive impact on the end customer and the business.
Right.
Don't get married to your designs. Instead, get sleepless nights in finding the right solution.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's I think that's as long as you have that very innate thought, you're more or less fine. That again led to another conversation where I think my UIs are looking really smashing. And मेरे को brief आया मैंने UI चालू कर दिया and अरे बाबा वो तो कुछ help हुआ ही नहीं.
Hmm.
There's one more thing kind of learned over the years that it's not about making things look pretty. It's more about making things look functional. Allocate a good chunk of your time in understanding the problem statement, articulating the problem areas, good amount of research,
Hmm.
do a good amount of scoping, wireframing, and then move to a more UI based solution.
Right.
That's my thought, yeah. And as what I mentioned earlier, right? Believe as a designer that you are a solution provider and not
Hmm.
an executor of an assignment.
Right.
Because the moment you put yourself in that mindset, you will
Hmm.
start seeking for answers and be in a better position to provide the best solution led design.
Right.
One other aspect, what I actually keep, right here also have it with me. I carry a book.
Okay.
I do my own level of documentation. I do my own
Hmm.
level of journaling. Again, that's a very innate thing for me. In any meeting that I go into conversation have, I always make notes because that helps and gives you a lot more clarity. I know the PRD might be there, it might be a rough PRD. It'll kind of have its own evolutionary cross, but create your own questionnaires in answer
Right.
format. Maintain a journal. Write down the aspects you want to clear out.
Hmm.
Penning, I think it's a proven fact also, right? Penning down your thoughts will actually help you find answers and give you a lot more clarity than just relying on a PRE that's given to you from
Right.
product design perspective.
Right.
And one of the last aspects is product design is an iterative process. It's not a one-time solution. So what happens? People say, "अरे ये final change है, ये कर दो." But then they don't know that आगे जाके वापस change आएगा उसके अंदर.
Right.
You know what I mean? It keeps on changing. It's never going to
Right.
be a first one. For example, even to see all these brands that come out with new phones every year,
Mhm.
some have in very small updates and changes.
Right.
So that's what design is, not something drastic, but it's more incremental.
Hmm.
And I think that's the new trend that is there. Because as a device and a form factor, that's all you have. If I just take mobile phone, right, as a device, this is the only form factor that you have. Now, उसके बाद क्या आएगा? हाँ, you'll add 5 cameras, you'll add 3 cameras, but those are all incremental updates to an existing product.
Right.
So I think as long as we try and keep all these thought processes in mind, I think uh, designers, you will do good here. इतना मन पे नहीं लेने का. That's what my thought is.
Right. It's thinking more about the solution and don't get obsessed about your design, right?
Don't love your designs. Make sure that the customers love your designs.
Right. And it gives some solution to the customer.
That should
Right.
be your main aim and objective. Otherwise, they
Mhm.
just खुद के लिए बना रहे और कुछ नहीं.
If you go in that context, that what are the critical skills are required for designer to be stand out in this era where the AI tools are there, where
हाँ.
lots of other tools which auto generate the design. So how the human designer stand out?
It's all about mindset. Yeah. As a product designer, you are a solution provider and not a mere executor. And the moment you change that mindset and you combine it with curiosity, you will find
Mhm.
creative ways to solve any business problems. And that will actually also make the individual designer also stand out. So
Mhm.
effort dal raha hai yaar. He's having a chat, he's asking questions. That helps a long way.
Mhm.
And coming to that aspect, communication. One more thing that I think as designers we should always do is enhance your communication articulation skills. Convey your thoughts better. The better you're able to communicate and share your thoughts, the more you will learn.
Mhm.
So that's mindset, that's communication, and one more aspect of communication is build better interpersonal skills. It's a soft aspect. I know quite a few of the things that I've said right now are soft aspects because quite a few of our layouts and our flows eventually at some point will move into the realm of AI and automation,
Mhm.
things like that. So soft skills will start becoming a lot more essential.
Mhm.
And with interpersonal skills, you can have conversations a lot more clearly. You'll also be perceived as someone who basically is looking for questions, and that'll make you stand out from the crowd here and get
Mhm.
noticed.
So discuss some of the soft skill. Any suggestion on the hard skill that these are the thing the person should know technically also?
See, people will say, "यार मैं Figma सीखता हूँ as a tool." It's been over the years. Yeah, Sketch था, Figma था, XP था. Quite a few tools will keep on coming and going. Fundamentals, एक बार you have to keep in mind.
Mhm.
The laws of UX, let's say, you have to keep in mind. The basic things of interactions, how people interact with a certain device, that's keeping in mind.
Mhm.
Now, even back in my graphic design days, what type of font sizes you use, what type of colors you use, say for a long view medium, short view medium view medium. Those are all essential that you keep in mind. And as long as you have these in mind, I don't think there should be any problem. Yeah, that's primarily it. Yeah. From a hard skill perspective, obviously, know your tools.
Mhm.
Don't fall in love with them. तो क्या होता है ना डिजाइन सिस्टम मैंने बना लिया अभी उसके अंदर ही खेलूंगा.
Ah.
While
Mhm.
it is your guiding force, it
Right.
does give you guidelines on what fonts you should use, what colors you should use, but don't make it so rigid that I'm not going to be able to play around it.
Mhm.
That's my request. Yeah. There's no definite playbook.
Mhm.
That's the fun about design. It's ever expanding. You can
Right.
never be sure कि कल क्या उठ के आएगा.
Mhm.
Because I never in my wildest dreams imagined that I'll be working across 6 industries, while staying in the same field.
Mhm.
So it's been what Bollywood, it's been ad tech, it's been health tech, it's been capital markets, it's been music streaming. So it's a lot more unexpected as a designer.
Right.
Anything will be coming across to you. कुछ भी आ सकता है.
Right.
And be ready for it, and just have fun while at it, doing it. Yeah.
Right.
Don't get taken aback or worried.
Design is very psychological related thing. Yes. How to play with the psychology with the right design.
I'm a strong believer that the lesser the options that you give to any user when in terms of choices, it's a lot more guided. Don't give them thousand options to choose. Give a guided approach. Give them say 3 to 4 options at max, if need be. Like something as simple as bottom navigation. Also, don't clutter it up too much. The
Mhm.
M3 guidelines also mention that 4 to 5 navigation that maximum that you can keep in the bottom navigation of a mobile device. If you
Right.
even see how your olden days ka TV ka remote tha, right? Too many
Mhm.
buttons to play with, and now you just have a few, very few buttons.
Mhm.
That's really helped, and everything else is taken care of by the interface, as in your
Right.
TV or your phone or whatever. Like some even mobile device. Earlier you had a QWERTY keyboard. Now
Right.
everything is on screen, and when you don't use the keyboard goes down, so you have more space to play with it.
Right.
Even something as simple when you navigate your top menu and top navigate heights, you get more space for content viewing. Little things. Just keep it simple. Don't complicate it. At least that's my perspective, and that's something that I've kind of ensured that through design we keep it a lot more easy for the end user to understand and observe.
And from psychology perspective, human brain always resists to change, and that's why company like Amazon not change the design from the years of their app.
Don't break what is not broken, right?
Right.
So that's one thing I read about, right? That there are uh, there are quite a few things on memory, quite a few aspects on attention span, and even cognition at some point. So people would randomly use the word cognitive load worker.
Right.
But I don't know how many people actually understood that the cognitive load as a principle or as a function of 3 types. You have intrinsic,
Mhm.
you have extraneous, and you have germane cognitive load.
Okay.
Extrinsic is more from where you create complexities.
Mhm.
You put more strain on the end user to perform a certain action.
Right.
Germane load always is more like some that sits in your long-term memory.
Mhm.
If you're able to remove extraneous load by keeping things a lot more simple, even if you introduce anything new, people will adapt it a lot easier,
Right.
right? So, as I said, even the headphone, for example,
Right.
what changed? We added
Mhm.
as a
Right.
device.
Right. Right.
इतने
Mm.
छोटा इतना बड़ा headphone बना दिया है. So no one's going to accept it.
Right.
It's a lot to adjust, a lot to accept and adapt.
Change management is one of the critical aspects क्योंकि change करना है if you want to improve. How the process of change should be adopted in terms of design.
Yeah, उसको phase out करो यार. The more drastic you make it, the lower engagement will be.
Mhm.
I think one more important aspect with change management is inform your end user कि मैं ये change कर रहा हूँ.
Mhm.
Because without context, without informing कि this is the old and this is the new, you'll always have a curve that you first dip and then you'll wait for the customer to start understanding कि हाँ mapping की ये था and then it will start going up.
Hmm.
The adoption of a change without informing the end user that and giving him context, right, would be a lot steeper up
Right.
as compared to when you give the person context.
Right.
कि ये change हुआ है and now this is your new version.
Mhm.
That's I think that's important too, and I don't know how many people do that. If, for example, if you even see an app updates, right, they mention
Mhm.
the aspect that are changed.
Right.
Hey, you have a new discover. Hey, you have
Mhm.
your bugs are fixed. This
Right.
bugs are fixed.
Right. And especially critical app like financial market don't change too much or
They
play around
cannot.
with the design.
They cannot. They're all incremental changes.
Right.
And in capital markets, our go-to app was zero them.
Mhm.
So the fact that was as simple as that. All your complexities are handled by the backend process. All your API mix match was all in the background. End consumer को कितने simplistic manner that you can show and make his experience easy is the goal.
Right.
Complex मत बनाओ यार.
Right.
That's again innate design का thing. सब आना चाहिए. And how
Right.
you're able to fight that battle when you go to the business teams to say कि there should not be 10 buttons.
Right.
We should basically club it up. Create groups, maybe something as simple as folders. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Create sub navigations and then track how people are interacting with the sub navigations.
Right.
सब खोल के रखने का doesn't make sense over there.
Mhm.
Again, it's very I've gone a lot more micro and conversation about that. But yeah,
But I think that's what the important aspect because many times what happen when people try to start designing, they try to expand everything and create more confusion for the user. Okay, And then we have the concept like single click checkout kind of process, right, where you want the user to be checkout as small time as possible, कि उसने
Hmm.
ऐड टू कार्ट किया, आइटम परचेज किया, सब्सक्राइब किया, क्लिक करके उसको, एंड
Yeah.
बिकॉज आई जस्ट बुकिंग वन टिकट ऑफ द ऑन एयरलाइन, एंड इट्स सो cumbersome if you go to checkout page. It's pain point. You have to it almost took 5 to 10 minutes to read out the whole checkout page, what are they offering, and to make a checkout. You want to check out, but the process is so critical that don't allow you to check out fast. Whereas we have e-commerce
Hmm.
company who try to speed up the process, and click of few buttons, you can you purchase is made.
I think it's actually, I think it's different for every industry, particularly say for flight booking. There are a lot more things now, and also from complexity point of view. Earlier it was easier, मेरे को flight चाहिए, मैंने ticket book किया, seat book किया, हो गया.
Right.
Now the thing is, what, ticket book करो अलग से, seat book करो अलग से.
फिर कैब भी बुक करो, फिर पिकअप भी ड्रॉप भी है.
हाँ, no, also that, कौन सा मेरे को सीट चाहिए, उसका भी अलग खर्चा है.
राइट.
अगर आगे से मैंने लिया उसका अलग प्राइस से, पीछे से लिया उसका अलग प्राइस से, पीछे का फ्री है. As a see, designers trying to find solutions to the business problems that they're coming up with.
राइट.
पहले प्रॉब्लम वो नहीं था. एवरी सीट वाज नॉट चार्ज सेपरेटली.
राइट.
मैंने सीट बुक का खर्च पैसा दे दिया, हो गया. Now for every seat you have to pay a different amount of money.
राइट.
So I remember booking a Indigo flight, and उसके बाद था, we get the whole plane का map, and then वहाँ पे कौन सा मेरे को select seat select करना है. That was never needed, that when, at least when I was younger back in the day when I used to fly, था कुछ नहीं था तभी. Now with tickets becoming generally very cheap, and how do you monetize the seats?
राइट.
So we seat monetization पे हो गया more than a ticket pricing.
Again, the business first and then design second, right? You cannot ask the user to first select the seats because you don't know the pricing, and then the revenue get affected because of the how you are structuring the design.
That's the thing. It has to be more from a solution-led perspective than a design-led thing. The designers are only telling you that, but
Right.
that's how it should be, more from thought process. Once you change that mindset, your perspective changes, and the conversations that you have with other stakeholders improves. Then it just makes you a better salesman at the end of the day. That's what I tell my team also, right? Designers are salesmen. It's just that we don't see them to be it. Because in the end, when you basically pitch a design, you're selling your design to an end customer
Right.
or end stakeholder in the end. Like why you have taken that particular approach.
Right. And we discussed that human behavior is very critical because the design play with the psychology of the humans. Now, in that context, it is good to that we can copy or take the reference of existing applications which are working fine, or then try to be creative and creating some completely new for the user.
Yeah. Don't reinvent the wheel. The wheel was invented after a lot of back and forth, a lot of processes.
Right.
Especially in today's day and age where every app is eyeing for your attention, right? And one thing that people don't kind of, or do kind of move away, that whenever you choose a certain brand, it kind of maps to how you identify with that brand,
Right.
right? Now, for example, when Spotify first came, there was a mad craze for Spotify. But that didn't mean that YouTube nahi tha. It's just that, as I
Right.
mentioned, right, innate human nature is that जो हम लोग को नहीं मिलता उसके पीछे हम लोग हमेशा भागते हैं.
Right.
If there are 5 doors of which one door is locked, like वो door के अंदर क्या है?
Right.
Same with these platforms, right? They were not there in India before, and when they came in India, there was a lot of praise. कि अरे वो हाँ उसमें क्या अलग है जो इसमें नहीं है? Though content is commoditized across all platforms,
Right.
so that's a very human thing. Why does, for a product or a commodity that's same across the board, why does someone choose a Nike over an Under Armour? Why does someone choose certain A brand versus another brand? Because that's how they associate with that. So that's why human psychology is a very interesting piece that every designer actually should understand and know about, and not just about hard skills, your tools and stuff. वो तो evolve होते रहेगा यार. At some point drag and drop हो जाएगा. तभी क्या करेंगे?
So if today someone creating the e-commerce platform application, they should copy from Amazon, Flipkart, or someone is creating the streaming, they should copy from Spotify or JioSavan.
A lot depends on your users, whatever users you have on your platform that come around. And actually, I think that's where data helps. But motamoti, if you see usability perspective, you have to maintain certain amount of similarity.
Right.
पूरा it can't be completely different.
Mhm.
पूरा आत्मगीन नहीं हो सकता. It doesn't make sense unless you really want to launch a new product and spend tons and tons of marketing and promotion to make it look unique and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But people are used to certain patterns. Follow those patterns.
Right.
Now, keeping your audience in mind, you can tweak it a little bit
Mhm.
through communication, through language, through providing enough context. All these things help, but otherwise, we are very lazy as people, right? We like seeing the same play button every damn way.
Right.
So
Right.
इतना कुछ रीनर मत करो यार कुछ नहीं मैं जो धंधा बोलता है in the end of the day. Sorry, very conversational thing, but
Right. Right.
कितना आता है like
Mhm.
Maruti says ना कितना देती है
कितना
in
देती
terms of
है?
mileage.
Right. And
So that's
they
the
know,
logic.
know when you are hiring the product designer at any level, what are the skill set and other expectation we have while hiring?
For me, I guess more than hard skills, it's more from the attitude perspective, the willingness to learn new aspects. And one more important thing I look at is how will that person fit my team?
Mhm.
Because eventually, we have to work as a team.
Right.
It's not. It's gone are the days when I used to work as an IC or none of
Mhm.
my team members are in that isolated role anymore. So
Right.
the more you're able to communicate with everyone, the more you're able to share your thoughts. But that's more important for me. I
Mhm.
look at the more softer skills first. Hard skills अपने आप आ जाएंगे. So no big deal. Yeah. Tools knowledge is no big deal. Like I have someone who's moved from XT to Figma,
Mhm.
and when I started my career 2004, I did my training in say, a tool called Combustion. I don't know if you know it, or from a video production perspective, and 3D Max. But when I actually went on to working in my first job, it was After Effects.
Right.
So tools don't matter.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like even over here, at some point in time, we migrated from using XD to
Mhm.
Figma as a tool.
Right.
Tool will just help you fasten up your workflow and your processes.
Right.
Apart from that, it's more over here. More the soft skills matter for me whenever I'm hiring, and how the person able to communicate and articulate with the team members and with the other people who they're working with.
Mhm.
Soft skills are more of a higher percentage for
Right.
me as compared to the hard skills.
So tools will come and go. As a product design, if you're just pen and paper, you should end the
हाँ
problem.
यार book zindabad book and pen zindabad for me. I
You
go
should
into every damn meeting with your book and pen. That's it.
okay. Write
Very
down the
old school.
problem. Yes.
Very old school. Spend time in thinking, in understanding the problem, writing down the points.
Yes, so I think that's what the tools will come and go. You should have the pen and paper also. Still, you should be able to understand the problem and draw out at least the solution, the wireframes, maybe the raw designs that can solve the problem.
You have a mud jumper, please.
Right.
That's my recommendation. That's the easiest thing. But when you start linking, when you actually saw how UI maps with actual output and how users are actually interacting with it, वहाँ पे टूटेगा. If you
Mhm.
do a rush, hurried up job. So,
Right.
go easy.
And that's what the biggest mistakes many designer or the UI UX designer makes, right? They jump into that directly in the Figma without just listening the problem and then start creating the final design.
You have a hurry about design पहले बनाने का because you want to see how कितना अच्छा दिखता है. How pretty does my design look?
Right.
That is not the objective.
Creating beautiful design is the last step, right? On the tool.
Yeah, because we're moving from a more we're making products, we're making flows for an end consumer, right? Keep their
Right.
pain points in mind
Hmm.
and then create it. वो अपने लिए design नहीं बनाना है.
Right.
That mindset has to change a lot,
Right.
and yeah, that'll happen eventually. I trust that's gonna happen.
Amazing. So we have discussed how the industry evolved and how the tools are impacting the whole product design journey, and we discussed how what is the soft skills which are important for any product designer. Understanding the problem, trying to find out the solution, then jump into the tools to create the thing. Right. What is the final advice to all the people who are aspiring to become the product designer?
Have fun यार.
Right.
इतना मन पे मत लो अपने डिजाइन को because वो चेंज होने ही वाला है.
Okay. Right.
Give the best possible solution for today.
Mhm.
Let the user interact with it and iterate.
Right.
It's not a one-time solution,
Mhm.
right? Even your AirPods, this thing have a certain version one, version two, version three, version four, where they keep the form and shapes. They add a little bit tweaks to it.
Right, right.
Don't reinvent the wheel.
And for you, your creative work, how you spend your additional time, or some of the fun things you do to keep this engaged?
Wow, well, by nature, I'm an introvert. I like my own space. But by profession, I am an extrovert, where I talk a lot with the product managers, the business teams to understand how things are going.
Mhm.
And apart from that, I spend a lot of time with my family, playing games. On Saturday, Sunday, I like my Switch, where I play Zelda and Mario Kart. I know they're a little kiddish, but who cares? I have my fun in that moment. Not a particular bookworm, but I like understanding more about how subconscious human aspects works, the non-verbal body language, and to some extent even metaphysics. It's that whole realm of fun that breaks off from design perspective. But knowing how things function
Mhm.
and how we as humans behave help a lot in creating solutions,
Mhm.
not designs. Design के लिए
Right.
painting है, but solution के लिए you have to understand how this works.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Anas, for your time and sharing your experience about the design at various industry what you work on.
Thank you, Dushyant. It was great having a chat with you and sharing my journey and foresight. And I hope that through this sparks some excitement into designers who want to pursue this as a career. And best of luck. Yeah, that's all I can tell anyone who's watching this episode of yours.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you.